Hi, everyone. A good turnout on a beautiful day. Too bad the government had to ruin it for us with the income tax. You know, I was out there, somebody reminded me that our politicians are trying to tell us that the sign of patriotism is paying taxes. And I know when the original Tea Party was there, this country was founded by Americans who didn't want to pay taxes. And that was patriotic. You know, I think when our founding fathers, when we tried to break from, if they knew that the income tax was waiting for them, they would have stayed a British colony. I mean, the taxes that we were protesting when we had the Tea Party were insignificant compared to the taxes that we pay today. I mean, the fact that we have representation, I think, is a small consolation for the amount of money we're paying in taxes. We would have been better off without a revolution had we stayed a British colony. I mean, look at Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a British colony up until not too long ago. They had no income tax. You know, we governed ourselves and we imposed this massive income tax. And of course, you know, we had to amend the Constitution to allow an income tax in 1913, which shows you that there was something inherently unconstitutional about the whole concept of an income tax. I think it's probably the single most destructive tax that we have in the United States, and it's one of the reasons that our economy is so uncompetitive, that we run massive trade deficits, that we're running huge current account deficits. It's because the income tax has undermined our economy, and it's turned every American, you know, there's no more privacy in the country. We got to tell the government everything about our lives in order to fill out the tax returns. We have to spend a lot of money. I've got, you know, spend a lot of money on accountants just to figure out how much I owe. You know, paying taxes should be very simple. You know, when you pay property taxes, you get a bill. When you pay sales taxes, you don't have to figure out what you owe. You don't have to keep any records. You don't have to go to an accountant. You don't have to risk going to jail if you do it wrong. That's how the country should be run. Anyway, you know, I'm a candidate for the United States Senate, and one of the things I want to do is either significantly reduce the income tax or abolish it altogether. But the only way we can do that is to shrink the size of the federal government. The government has grown like a cancer, and it is destroying the healthy private sector. Our government is now going to spend in the next fiscal year almost $4 trillion in 1 year. That's more than twice what they spent 10 years ago. How many thought the government was too big 10 years ago? Well, now it's twice the size. How can that be? Does the average American have twice the income to support a government that's twice as big? And in fact, the rest of us are going to suffer, because where's that $4 trillion coming from? It's coming from the private sector. It's the money that we need to grow our economy. If you want to know why no one can get a job, it's because all the capital is in Washington. That's where the jobs are. But we don't want these bureaucratic jobs. They don't produce anything. All the bureaucrats do is make it harder for everybody else to produce. And they're undermining our industrial capacity. So what we need to do, like our forefathers, is we need another revolution in this country. Only not against the British, but against our own government, against Washington, D.C. Because they no longer represent what this country stands for. And they're not honoring their oaths to defend the Constitution. We've got a group of people in Washington, D.C. who think the only reason that socialism didn't work in the past is because the right people weren't trying to implement it. We've got a bunch of elitists in Washington who think they're smarter than everybody and they care more than everybody, and they can succeed where Fidel Castro failed. But it's not going to work. Socialism didn't work in the Soviet Union, it's not working in Cuba, and it's not going to work in Washington, D.C. And we need to take our country back from the bureaucrats that have held it hostage before they drive this economy to oblivion. I think that we are on the verge, and I say the verge, of a major economic collapse. If anybody thinks that the collapse is over, that it happened in 2008, that was just a wake-up call. That was the beginning. And everything, and I mean everything the government has done going back to George Bush's presidency, but now under Obama, everything they've done to stimulate the economy, every bailout, it's only made the problem worse. They have exacerbated the underlying economic imbalances that led to the financial crisis of 2008, and unfortunately, it is leading to a bigger crisis, a currency crisis that's going to hit this country sometime in the next couple of years. And when our dollar collapses and the price of everything that we need to buy is running out of control, and we have runaway inflation and sky-high interest rates, you'll know why we have those things. It's not because the free market failed, because capitalism failed, but because Washington failed, because our government failed. And we need to do something about it before it's too late. And hopefully this Tea Party movement around the country and here in Connecticut can really make a difference in the election that's coming up. It's very important that we replace the incumbent politicians, the career politicians who put their own political careers ahead of their country and who govern for themselves, not for us. We need to replace these guys and bring real citizen legislatures, not politicians, but statesmen, to Washington, D.C. to clean up this mess and to do what no career politician will ever do, and that's what's right for the country, not what's politically expedient for themselves. And hopefully I can get the support of the Tea Party movement. There's a lot of motivated people out here that really want to make a difference. I can't think of one thing that would make a bigger difference in this country for restoring liberty, restoring respect for the Constitution, bringing this nation off the brink of financial ruin. I can't think of a better thing that you can do than elect me to the United States Senate. And that is the reason that I'm running. Because I actually think if I get elected that I could be the guy that makes a difference. That I can actually persuade and convince and educate the other senators, the other congressmen, what they need to do and to give them the courage and the motivation to actually do it. Anyway, thanks everybody. I know I don't have a lot of time to speak. I've got my booth down there and I'll be hanging out for a while. I know I got to speak at 3 or 4 other Tea Party events. But hopefully I get your support in this coming election. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter Schiff. Peter